You're listening to Trailblazers.fm, an interview-styled podcast that delves deep into bold conversations with successful Black entrepreneurs and leaders. Join us weekly to learn actionable strategies, valuable tactics, and innovative tools that you can put to use immediately on your journey to blazing your trail. And now, here's your host, my husband, Stephen A. Hart.
It happens every single time, guys. Blazer Nation, happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If this is your first time rocking with us, my name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of Trailblazers.fm. If this is your first time, seeing one of our live streams, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you've been rocking with us for the last 5+ years, as always, I am grateful for your continued support. Our featured guests today are Gerald Reed and Joshua Scott. They're both co-owners of Titan Protective Services. And we're going to be talking with them here in just a second. Just wanted to give a special big ups before we do to our Blazer Nation community that's always rocking with us on a Friday morning. Good morning to Annette. Good morning, Sheldon. Good morning, Ralston. Good morning, Miranda. Thank you so very much for y'all being here. But without further delay, I am going to bring Gerald to the stage. We know that Joshua's having a little bit of technical issues happening. But good morning, Gerald. How you doing?
Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's Friday. It's the end of a long week. But blessed and excited for this conversation with you both.
Absolutely.
And this is live, right? So there's always some funkiness with these things at times. But right before we went live, I was asking you where you're located, and we always start these conversations off from a place of gratitude. And so, let's maybe start there. And let me ask you, what's an unexpected blessing that you're most grateful for in your life right now?
Oh, man. Unexpected blessing, I'd say, is my family. Ultimately, when you're growing up, you think you're going to have kids. You think you're going to have a spouse. But when it actually happens, you're like, man, I'm really blessed, And
Yes.
so I think for me, that's my unexpected blessing for sure.
Yes.
Being able to have my family and they support me, and it's a crazy path for us, being a military family and moving around so much, but we make it work.
So you touch on that. Are you still in the military?
I am 16 years and counting.
Wow. So you're going in for the last 4?
I'm trying to push it through. I'm definitely trying to push it through.
I imagine Titan growing at the pace it is probably making this more challenging.
Oh yeah, it absolutely makes it more challenging. But the great thing is we have great leadership in all of our markets. We've got, of course, we've got Joshua, who will be on in a few moments, and so that makes it easier for me when I've got to step away and go take care of things on the military side, to be able to know that even though we're growing at such a fast pace, we're going to be okay. Everybody else is going to be able to carry on the torch until I'm able to return.
We'll talk about Titan in a second, but tell me a little bit about your background. What's your backstory?
Okay, so let's see. From PG County, Maryland, like we discussed a few moments ago.
Yes.
Growing up there, I went to college at St. Augustine's, now university. It used to be St. Augustine's College down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Unfortunately, I didn't finish with my degree, but I did attend that school for quite a while. Let's see. I joined the military in 2005 as a Army reservist. Just going to the Army stuff on the weekends every month, and then over time, I decided to take it to the active duty side of the house. So I've been doing that ever since, man. And honestly, security was always my passion. I always like to help people and, do things of that nature. So that was always, I guess, for lack of a better word, it was always my side hustle. Anytime I would move to a different city or state, I would always pick up a security job and, do that on the side. And then, one day Josh and I had a conversation and Titan was born.
So one day Josh and I had a conversation. So that kind of lends to what I was gonna ask. Is at what point, what's the relationship? Are you guys related? Are you long time friends? How did that relationship come about?
I'd say it like this: blood can never make us thicker. That is my brother. We go back now, I'd say at least maybe 13, 14 years. Even before Titan, we're so close that we talk every single day. It was one of those things that if I don't hear from him one day or he doesn't hear from me one day, we're both panicking like, "You okay? I ain't hear from you yesterday." So, we're extremely tight. The bond is extremely tight.
Yes. So did you guys meet in the military?
No, so we met in college, actually. We met down at St. Aug. I think he was maybe 2 years behind me. And so when he came in, we actually played in a band together. There he is.
There he is.
So we actually played in a band together in college, a go-go band. So you're from, the Montgomery County area, so I'm sure you're familiar with go-go. And so we played in a go-go band together, and ever since then, the relationship was formed.
Got it. So Josh, I think you're still muted.
Good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I do apologize for my tardiness.
No problem, man. This is live. This is what happens. We roll with it.
My MacBook did not want to cooperate this morning.
Well, we're happy to have you here. I was just picking Gerald's brain about, how you guys connected and before the business, how long you guys been friends and partners, and you're sharing that, you're somebody that he's known for quite a bit. I don't know, your take on that friendship.
Yes, so we did meet back in college, 2006, at St. Augustine's College, as it was that time. We met on campus. I believe he took me to the grocery store or something. I can't remember.
I love it.
But believe it or not, you probably hate me for saying this, but we didn't like each other in the beginning. Because we're two very stubborn people and we want what we want. But eventually we built a relationship over the years and we became so close and our bond was unbreakable. And it's history since then.
Did you guys have a challenge going into business where, did you guys have a conversation about the impact of a business on a friendship? And how has that, morphed or helped, since then?
Well, we never really put that aspect. We never really looked at it from that aspect, to be honest. One thing we both know is nothing personal, it's just business. When it comes to making business deals and building business relationships, we actually just winged it, to be honest. We learned everything as we went on. Yes. We really never, from my standpoint, we never really looked at it from that aspect. But it works out. Sometimes we butt heads and disagree, but at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for the business. And, we disagree or agree to disagree and we move on from it.
Yeah. Who came up with the idea for Titan?
That would be Gerald.
Yeah, that was definitely my idea. So
what was that idea?
Let me give you a funny backstory on Titan. So before we named Titan, Josh is a huge Green Bay Packers fan. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. The original name, and come on, don't do me like that. So, where's the end button on this thing?
So I grew up in Tampa. So, I'm a Bucs fan, not so much a Tom Brady fan, but I've always been a Bucs fan. And I'm from Jamaica. I moved to Tampa in 95, 96 when Dungy came. And so, I'm a product of that era. That's how I learned football. And so I have love for the Packers, but just not a Cowboys.
That's okay. It's okay. When you're America's team, everybody has to hate you. It's all right. But so the funny story behind Titan is actually our original name for Titan. When we were going through the naming process, we had a lot of different names, and we tried to take two things that we both loved, the Cowboys and Packers, and kind of merge it. And so our original name for Titan was actually Pack Security.
Nice.
A lot of people don't know that.
That's only here, exclusive to Trailblazers.
Yeah, that's exclusive.
I love that Pack. So, I mean, what was the vision for creating this business? Because this isn't a business you guys created, right? That you created a new widget, a new product. I mean, we're talking about security. I could talk like Allen Iverson talking about practice right there, right? Like we're talking about security. How are you guys? What's been the approach? How are you guys, exploding in the way you did? From what I understand, you created a business in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That right? So
that's correct.
You're barely getting your legs under you and COVID hits. Like what's been your approach to this?
So truthfully, so to answer your first question, when we went into it, it was basically just something that we wanted to do, right? I've worked for so many security companies in the past and seen so many things that I felt like, man, that should be different or that should be different. And so, finally, when we had this vision to start Titan, it was how can we do things differently from everybody else? We think about the main players in the security industry, the main, I'd say, top 3 companies that you think about when you first think of security. We want to be amongst those Titans, no pun intended. We want to be upon them at some point. And so, like you said, 2019, we literally just started. And, I think we had maybe one contract at the time. Very small contract here in Texas. And like you said, then COVID hits and we're panicking, like, what are we going to do? And it was almost like COVID was a blessing for us because it brought forth so much more work. Whether it was, can you watch over my building because we're shutting down? Can you come take temperatures? Can you, do whatever things that there were available to be done at that point when everybody was staying in the house? It was a blessing for us. And from there, we never really looked back.
So how are you handling the growth, right? Because it seems like where a lot of people were shedding during COVID and trying to find a way to just get through that season, you guys are growing because you have a product, a service that is in need. And so where did the business start out? Did it start out here in DC?
No, so we started in Austin, Texas. That's where our headquarters
started in
is.
Austin.
That's where everything started. And then, we had the vision to start it over in the DC metropolitan area as well. And, we've been just growing those markets ever since. And, we got plans to go into other markets later on this year. We've got a lot of things coming up for us. So, I mean, it's been a great run so far, and we're looking forward to many, many more years of it.
Yeah. So you have a presence in Austin, you have a presence in DC. I think I read that you're moving into the California market.
Yes, I've actually just recently relocated to the California market. So I'm at joining. So it's 5:15 a.m. Trust me, that's not the reason why I was late. It was really
no. I mean,
so we're actually here in the California area as well. Looking to grow the same way we did in Texas and the DC metro area as well.
So let's maybe break this down, right? Because there's so many things in my mind right now and angles I wanna go in. How are you hiring? I know you're a veteran-owned, Black-owned business. Is that something you're embracing when you're going to these companies, or when you're looking to hire? Are you bringing in veterans? What's the approach to how you guys are hiring? And let's maybe start there, because I'm also thinking of the culture that you guys started with and growing so quickly. How are you hoping to kind of keep the shape of that culture as you're growing as quickly as you are?
So one of the things that we do when we try to bring in applicants, we always say, we're a veteran-owned and operated company. Veterans are encouraged to apply, but it's not mandatory. We don't want to push away
limits.
somebody that may have a great security background, but they were never in the military. We don't want to push them away, but we do want to make sure that our veterans, because we know in this day and age that so many of our veterans are not taken care of in so many different ways. And so if we can find a veteran that does have the security experience, or maybe they don't have the licensing, but we can help them get the licensing to be able to bring them on board, we definitely do welcome that. But as far as our hiring is concerned, we don't necessarily always go with the approach of we're Black owned and we're veteran owned. We normally just go with the approach of, look, we provide 5-star caliber services to all of our clients. That's what they know us for. And so we're not looking for quantity, we're looking for quality. And if you can bring quality to the table and you can be a part of this team and grow with this team, then we want you. And if not, then there's another company for you.
What's quality? What's quality to you, Gerald? Like coming from an Army background, I imagine that maybe has shaped your approach to leadership. What are you hiring for?
So like we say in the military, I just need people that's going to be in the right place at the right time in the right uniform doing the right thing. That's all. Literally, that's it for me. That to me is quality. If you're able to do those things, if you're able to do what you're supposed to do when nobody's watching, right? Integrity, if you're able to have that, then that's what we're looking for.
As the tagline says, secured by the vest, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love that. So has there been a culture that you guys are looking to shape in all of this? A particular approach to the company? I mean, I as a brand strategist, I have to commend you guys. I love the brand. I love the presence of your website and your social, and just the way you guys have carried yourselves, you know, from a digital standpoint, something I teach. And I can appreciate that. So, you know, how does it fold into the business itself, and, you know, how you guys are hoping to kind of transition the company in terms of the culture?
So I think, first of all, let me first say, everything you see on the digital side of the house is all Miranda's doing. So we definitely have to say
big ups to Miranda.
A big thank you to Miranda, because without Miranda, it would be pretty bad. So, I mean, I think honestly, as far as the approach is concerned, we're just trying to do something different. You know, when you look at security, a lot of people think that security is all about muscles and who's the biggest guy. I mean, look, my grandmother always told me the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You know, and so at the end of the day, I'm 6'3", 245 pounds. I'm a pretty big guy myself, but there's guys bigger than me. Right? So at the end of the day, as you can see, just by doing this podcast with you, this is not something that's the norm for a security company. We want to literally break through different barriers that in the security market, people don't normally think to try to break through. We want to be different. We want to be, we want to just set a different standard, right? So that's basically one of our other new taglines, is setting a new standard for security, right? So we want to set a new standard to where we're doing the things that others don't do, won't do, don't want to do.
When we talk about security, help me understand exactly what you guys do. What do you offer when we're talking about security services? Because for me, you know, I might just be thinking of one thing, and you guys are offering a broad variety of services. Joshua, can you maybe speak to that?
Yes, sir. So we do offer a variety of services. We do unarmed, armed, personal protection, private protection for celebrities, and in this day and age, COVID, we do temperature checks. And it seems like where we are in America now, we're kind of falling back from that. They're kind of easing up on those COVID intentions. Yeah. So we still do temperature checks. Even though a lot of people don't enforce masks in different states. I know here in California, they're going away from that in June 15th, and Texas has basically been like that the entire time, to be honest. So sometimes it's kind of hard to enforce, but we still definitely do temperature checks, patrol services for different properties, maybe as a hotel or a shopping center. So those are some of the services that we do offer.
Now that you guys are in different locations, how does that? Yeah, you touched on this earlier, Gerald, that you guys talk every day. How are you communicating with your team in all these different locations? And how does that kind of work with the nature of things being remote? Does that impact the growth of the business, and how are you guys kind of working through that?
So truth be told, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
I'm sorry. So actually, it's just like it's just like a vehicle. You have different moving parts to keep the vehicle moving. So we definitely want to shout out our great leadership team, because from sun up to sundown, we're definitely communicating throughout the day. Miranda's just definitely doing things behind the scene to assist with that. And me and Gerald, I'd probably say we send anywhere from maybe 100 to 300 text messages a day, voice messages. It's constant communication. Definitely because we're all in different time zones. One of our captains are in DC. He's in Texas with another captain, and I'm here on the West Coast. So it kind of works out because one person can pick up where the other left off, because we're basically covering all times of the day. So we're in constant communication via text message, emails, Zoom calls. So it's definitely challenging sometimes to coordinate with everyone's schedule, depending where they are, but we definitely get it done.
And real quick to piggyback on that, Stephen, he talked about like 100 to 300 texts per day. I honestly think that's probably before 11 a.m. Truth be told.
I saw you shaking your head,
yeah,
and I was thinking you're going to set it off as...
It's
I wasn't trying to
way
make
more than
crazy, Stephen. I'm sorry.
It's way more than that. And then also, like Joshua mentioned, our captains, we've got Captain Davis and Captain Desider. We can't do what we do without them. They are literally the leaders of this company. They are the ones that are the driving force to this company. I tell them all the time, you guys are the captain. This is your ship. We're just your VIP client. Like, we're just on the ship with you, but you drive this ship how you want to drive this ship. And they'll tell you, I mean, Captain Davis tells us all the time we're crazy, because Josh and I both would probably say, all right, go to bed, talk to y'all tomorrow. And 2 hours later, we're back up texting them like, hey, did this get done? What's going on with this? And they're like, do you guys not sleep? And I'm like, no, not really. So as far as the communication piece, we're at it literally all day, every day.
Listen, let me pause you right there. I'm asking you guys about culture, and you both have been sharing different things, but just in the 20 minutes we've been talking, I just want to acknowledge what I hear you guys doing. You are bringing up Miranda, you're bringing up your captains, and you're elevating the people below you, and that is the culture. That you can't explain, but I'm seeing it and hearing it right now from you, and I appreciate that, and I commend you and acknowledge you guys for that. And I hope you're able to carry that forward in the growth. You guys are chasing this dream and reaching for this goal, and that's kind of the way I frame this episode. Talk to me about the dream. Where does this go? And where's the end goal? Is this thing to grow it to a nationwide security firm? Is this something that you want to grow to a certain size? What's the long-term vision?
I think, and Josh, please, correct me if I'm wrong. I think honestly, the long-term vision is to grow until you just can't grow anymore. I think the goal is ultimately, it would be an amazing thing if in the next 15 years, we're able to turn Titan over to our children and say, hey, this is yours now. You see what we were able to do with it. You see, the different things that we were able to grow from and do. We're passing the torch on to you, carry it on. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I say this all the time. If you die and all you do is leave behind money for your family, then you didn't do something right. So if I can leave this world and pass on the legacy of Titan to my children, and they can continue it on, and this can become a family-owned business that's global, then why not? Right now we're looking at, like Josh said, we're looking at doing so many things, so many different markets. California and Florida is coming up. Kentucky might be coming up, and it's not going to stop there. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you never want to stunt your growth, right? When you were growing up, your parents probably told you, don't drink that coffee. It's going to make you stunt your growth. We're never going to stunt Titan's growth. We're going to continue to grow until we just feel like either we can't grow anymore, or one of these big name companies comes and buys us out for a lot of money. We'll do that too.
And I was going to ask, is that something that you would consider as an exit, something that, you guys would entertain?
Me and Gerald, we always joke about it.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know if you heard that deal that went back with Allied and GS4 for billions of dollars. So, I mean, I don't think we ultimately will ever let it go. But we just like to entertain and laugh at it every now and then. I don't see it. I really don't see an end game. I just see we take it as far as we possibly can. If the opportunity presents itself, we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But it's just to, continue this rapid success and this rapid growth that we've been doing since 2019.
There's something you said, and I'm teaching brand strategy. I teach personal branding quite a bit. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is legacy and wealth. And you guys touched on it. I don't know if you guys have heard, many of our Blazer Nation have heard me talk about this in the past, but there's a study back in 2017 that pointed to a trend, an awful trend that says, if things don't change in the next couple of years, Black median household wealth is trending to zero by the year 2053. And Latino population is trending to zero by 2073. Here's the scary part. By 2043, so 20 years from now, we're going to be the majority population in the country. You're talking about the majority of the country not having wealth. And I am big on teaching. In fact, I'm shifting my whole tagline behind my own brand to designing the future that you live and leave. And I see you guys living your legacy right now and setting things up to leave it, right? So I just want to acknowledge that too. I really appreciate that you guys are doing that. Miranda actually brought up something, being the great person teeing you guys up. She left a question here. How did it feel to give back to students at SAU? And I think you guys are, there you go.
I guess I can start first on this one. It was just an amazing experience to just give back to the place where it all started. And anyone who who's went to a HBCU knows that registration and financial aid process takes days, and sometimes you don't get it taken care of until that Friday when classes start on Monday. So not having that financial support or that those monies available, we definitely know that feeling. So that's what basically led us to do that. It was just a great feeling. I mean, I'm speechless behind it, to be honest.
That's such a, I love that you guys are giving back. And I imagine that, this is the beginning of what you guys are able to do as the business continues to grow. Money isn't the only thing that we give back, right? I think wisdom and that knowledge base is so important. And it's the reason really why I created this platform, right? It's so that the next gen, the present gen actually is who tunes into Trailblazers, but it's my hope that, my little crumb snatchers, right? I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, here, and I want those two crumb snatchers to grow up, seeing all these people on the wall behind me, seeing representation of Black success in all its forms, right? And having that representation, having that real life Wakanda experience, right? And I love that you guys are doing what you're doing, and just want to big you guys up for setting that example of what success can be, right? What advice do you have for the young up and coming? I mean, in many ways, you guys are still on the ground level, but it's still fresh because you're just coming 2 years out and you've had tremendous success. unfortunately, success is never, a clear path. You're going to have the valleys. We didn't talk much about the valleys. And I'm sure in the season of the last 18 months or 2 years, you've had a few of them. But what's the advice that you would want to pour out to other young entrepreneurs that are chasing their dreams, right? Chasing their dreams and reaching for those goals.
So I think honestly, the best advice I can give somebody that's chasing their dreams is don't stop. I tell the story all the time that, and hopefully Josh doesn't mind me sharing this on a public platform. When we started Titan with bill money. It wasn't an inheritance. It wasn't, an influx of money that just fell in our laps and we said, oh, well, we don't have anything to do with it. Let's start a business. No, I mean, I was looking out my window shades every day, hoping that my vehicle wasn't coming to get picked up when I heard a truck come down the street. So when you think about things like that, right? When you think about success stories like that, not saying that we're a success story, but maybe we are. When you think about somebody like Tyler Perry, who slept in their car and that was a multi-billionaire, right? Sometimes you just have to pull that trigger and you just have to go for it. And you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your vision. And you just have to know that everything is going to be okay. To piggyback really quickly, as far as like going back even with the whole St. Aug situation, we actually got the opportunity to speak to some business students at St. Aug when we went down to do the scholarship presentation. And so big shout out to Dr. Sharia Rowe. She's one of the professors at St. Aug. She also owns a publication, The Business Mogul, that we were featured in a few months back as well. She allowed us to come into her classroom and speak to her students, and that was the message. The message to them was, look, don't take this for granted, because once we were in the same seats you guys were in.
Yeah.
Whatever you have in your mind, whatever you think that you want to do in life, whatever visions and goals you have, chase them. Don't let anybody ever deter you from chasing those goals. Because ultimately, if you chase them and you catch them, it's a great thing.
And to piggyback on Gerald, I think that's why that works so well for us, because me and Gerald, we're two driven people. We don't take no for an answer. So that's what motivates us to keep the Titan brand going. And just to touch on a quote that I've seen the other day, I don't know who said it, but it said, if you don't come from a rich family must come from you.
Wow.
And that resonates.
One more time, Joshua, for the people in the back.
The quote said, if you don't come from a rich family must come from you. And that just resonated with me. Wow. To the highest level. And I've thought about it every day. And that's the end goal. So my kids won't have to go through that same struggle. I still want them to know that life isn't easy, but I don't want them to have to face that same struggle that I did. And just like Gerald mentioned, I was in the same situation. Bill collectors calling because it was bill money, but we bet on ourselves. And it was a great gamble at the end of the day.
Gerald said, doing the work and knowing it's going to be okay. I'm going to correct you. You don't know it's going to be okay, right? You didn't know it was going to be okay, but you're betting on you, right? You're making that bet on you. And if anything, pressure bust pipes, right? If that don't make you get up at all hours of the morning, and I'm sure that's what probably planted that habit in you guys where you're up all the time. Because this is your baby, and it's not a 9-to-5 job when you're building your own. But I think I said this recently. Stress is when you're putting your energy and time into somebody else's dream, and you feel that weight, but it don't feel the same when it's your own dream. It's not so much stress. There's a certain drive, a certain passion that comes with that, and clearly the intersection of your passion and obviously your superpower, right? And the skill and talent that you have was blessed with the financial side, the economic end. And to this point, you're now, you touched on where you're coming from, right? Where are you guys now? Are you running a profitable business?
Absolutely. I think, wow. Like I said, when you talk, like you just said, when you're talking about where we came from, utilizing bill money to start a business, and now just it's just, life is just so different, right? You just can't even, the words don't even come to mind on the life-changing experience that Titan has created for us and our families. You know, again, just using personal experiences as a reference, you know, my kids might say, hey, can we go out to, you know, Applebee's tonight, or can we go out to, you know, some restaurant tonight? And 2 years ago, it was like, maybe not tonight, maybe next week. Now, granted, you don't tell your kids like, hey, daddy ain't really got no money to take you out, right? It's just like, hey, well, maybe next week. I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, just being able to say like, hey guys, let's go to dinner. Hey guys, let's go do this. Let's go do that. You know, just to be able to see the impact you're making on your kids. Like Josh said earlier, we don't want our kids to not know what life struggles are. You need to know what life struggles are. They build character, but we don't want them to have to struggle in the way that we struggled. You know, ultimately, if I can save my kids from that kind of struggle, then I did something right. You know, if I can save my kids from being in those type of situations, again, the decisions that they make when they get older, if they decide to go and blow their money on whatever they blow their money on, well, then that's on you because you're grown. But if I can put it in you now that this is how responsible you should be with your money, this is what you should do, this is how you should be, then that's a win for us. So life is different. You know, we're not by any stretch of the imagination rich or millionaires or billionaires, but you know, I don't think I've ever had a point in my adult life, and I'm 34, in my adult life, I don't think I've ever had a point until now where I can say I'm actually comfortable. I've never been comfortable.
And just listening to you two, again, this is the first time we're having a conversation, but just listening to you two, I can tell that not only are you going to be, you know, wealthy beyond just the monetary, right? But I appreciate the character of you both. You know, I genuinely want to continue to maintain a friendship and a relationship with you guys, listening to you through this conversation. Yeah, you touched on something, Gerald, and I was thinking about this. I was listening to this Jay-Z interview just a couple days ago, and it had me thinking, because I grew up in Jamaica in the 80s and 90s. I'm a product of a divorced home. You know, for many years, my dad lived very actively involved with us, but he moved to the States when I was 7. So I grew up in a house with a single mom for 6-7 years. And, you know, I had to, you know, she was off to work at like 5 a.m. So in many ways, you know, I was jumping on a city bus to downtown Kingston at 6 a.m. to go to school at 10 years old. My 10-year-old don't know that life, right? She hops in my car and I take her to school. I never had that privilege, right? I'm not wealthy monetarily, but you know, I'm now raising a kid that is growing up in a completely different way than I did. You know, and I have 10 years on you. I just turned 44. But you know, how are you guys looking at parenting in that way, right? To set an example where they can appreciate things that they won't experience, but recognizing that they're going to grow up in a different environment than we did.
So I'm gonna let Josh take this question, but just in listening to what you just said just now, it brought up something for me, because I too am a product of a single mom, you know, raising me or whatever. And I think my mom might be watching this morning. So good morning, Mom, if you're watching. You know, but it really made me think about something that you know, if you grow up in a 2-parent home, you know, Josh grew up in a 2-parent home. So if you grew up in a 2-parent home, your experience is a little bit different than somebody that grows up in a single-parent home. And me personally, you know, might be wrong for this, might be right for this, don't know. I honestly believe that single moms are the foundation of greatness, because the things you learn when you're living in a single-parent home, it is so much different, you know. And I can't speak from experience on what it's like to grow up in a dual parent home, but it's the experience. Like you said, you were catching a bus at 10 years old. Our kids will never know what that was like. You know, nowadays we don't even want our kids catching a bus at 10 years old, let's be honest. but I honestly just believe that my mom instilled so many, and my grandmother as well. My mom and my grandmother instilled so many great values in me growing up, just being raised by two strong Black women that I know I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for them. I know that without a shadow of a doubt. But as far as the kids are concerned, just making sure that they don't go through the same struggles we went through. Go through your struggles. It's going to build character. But you're not, when we listen to people that are a generation or two ahead of us that say, I used to walk 10 miles to school with my, holes in my shoes in the snow. Like, we never did that. So just having a different story so that when they get older, they can tell their kids, like, hey, I grew up, okay, but I want you to grow up even better than me. Ultimately, when you have kids, the goal is to give them better than what you ever had. And if I can do that, that's a win for me.
Yeah. Want to add to that, Josh?
So were you going to let me answer the question, sir? Because you definitely answered the question.
My apologies, sir.
I'm just joking. But Stephen, just to give a brief story, I was actually in Jamaica one time in Hanover, Montego Bay.
Nice.
And I seen these kids in uniforms and they were walking to school, but the school had to be at least 2 to 3 miles away. I'm like, gosh, man, these kids are really taking a journey to school every month, and then they have to take that journey back.
Yeah.
After learning for the entire day. So I'm like, my kids will never know that experience because like you said, they get dropped off at school. And sometimes even in a 2-parent home, my mom was the main breadwinner. My dad was a veteran. Rest in peace to my father. But he stopped working after a while, and I seen a lot of the burden that my mom took on as my father didn't work, and it just inspired me. And kids are very observant. They may not say anything, but they'll look at these things, and later on in life, I think that's what gives me a more of a passion, more of a fire to be successful. Because I seen my mom get up every day, work those long hours, even take up a part-time job and provide for us, come home and cook. But you never know how really much goes into parenting until you become a parent. And I have 2 beautiful kids, Joshua and Aubrey. And it's even more difficult because I just recently moved to California from the DC metro area with their mom at the time, but they'll be out here in a few weeks and I'll spend the summer and we'll have some fun. So I definitely see the parental struggle from the standpoint. I knew how much of a superhero my mom actually was. So just like Gerald said, he had the single family and he always referred to his mother, Miss Ruby, and he says 1,000 quotes a day from her. So I know she was definitely a very influential woman in his life. And then his mom, I speak to his mom often. That's just like my mom as well. So that's my take on the parental aspect.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Listen, as we get set to taper things off, Miranda had a question here. As a business owner, what's been the most important lesson that you've learned? I'll let Gerald kick this one off.
Man.
Great question, Miranda.
Great question, because I've learned, I personally have learned so many different lessons. Wow, I really can't even think of what the most important, if I had to say what the most important lesson has been, I would say the lesson of just putting forth that extra amount of work to ensure your success. Like you mentioned earlier, you said, it's stressful when you're kind of trying to make somebody else's dream a little bit better when you're working for somebody else. And so putting forth more work to make sure that your dream never falters, to make sure that your legacy is not going to fall. That to me, I think has been the most important lesson for me. Because I mean, it takes a lot. Josh, like Josh just said, he's got 2 kids. I've got 5, and my 5th is 7 months old. And so sometimes it's a struggle trying to figure out that work-life balance. We talk about that a lot, in our group text with like Captain Davis and Captain Desiree, our 2 captains. We talk about making sure our employees have a work-life balance, But to be honest, I don't think we really get that much of a work-life balance, and we're okay with that. But when I've got a wife, I've got 5 kids, I'm still in the Army, I've got Titan, so I've got a lot of I've got a lot
Moving
of things.
part.
I'm in a bike club, just a lot of things I have going on. So trying to figure out my time, like that's very, very difficult. But when you're doing it for your own
Mm,
dream and legacy, and thinking about my kids and where they'll be 15 years down the line, it makes it worth it every single day.
I love that. Appreciate you guys being very open and transparent about all of that. As we get set to wrap up, there are a couple of things I could carry this conversation another hour with you guys. I appreciate all you've shared today. Definitely need to have a follow-up conversation on this. But are you guys big on where are you consuming information? Typically, we ask about a book you've read that you want others to add to their reading queue. But I'll open this up and ask, you guys are building a business right now, and you just touched on it, Gerald. I mean, I could adopt you as a resident Jamaican with all those titles that you have going right now. How are you taking in, right? Whether it's audiobooks or books or articles, like how are you? Because I don't know if both of you, one of the things we never touched on is, do each of you have a business background to be building a business? How are you learning as you go on what to do? Because oftentimes it's the fact that you don't know what you don't know. How are you learning to be able to keep moving the business forward? Either of you, feel free to hop in on this one.
Well, so just like Gerald stated, I still have my job besides Titan, which is in a Fortune 25 company, and I've been in management since I was 23. So a lot of times I always go to these courses and management trainings, and you sit there bored and for the entire time. But at the end, I realized I do have many takeaways from these classes and trainings. So as we have our leadership team take trainings, we actually send some out to our leadership trainings, and we have meetings weekly or bi-weekly with our leadership team to continue our knowledge, continue education. You never want to be complacent, because when you get complacent,
losing your signal a little bit, Josh. Gerald, I'll invite you to jump in.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. So honestly, man, I feel like just like in parenting, right? You're a parent, you've got 2 kids. There's no playbook for raising kids, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that have done it, and they've done it their way. In business, I honestly think there's the same thing. I can't use Jay-Z's business model as my business model. I can't use, Elon Musk's business model as my business model. I have to create Gerald Reed. I can't even use Joshua's business model as my business model. I have to literally create my own playbook. And so when you think about things of that nature, it's almost like you can read as many books as you want to read. You can listen to as many interviews as you want to listen to. I'm a big biography kind of guy, right? So I love to hear people's life. I love to hear like, wow, you went from this to this, and this is how you did it. But that doesn't mean I can do it. I'm pretty sure in the security field alone, the major players in the security industry, my story is different from theirs. So I necessarily can't follow their playbook on how they built Allied Universal, or how they built Securitas, or how they built, G4S, or any of these other major players. I can only follow my own playbook, and my playbook is still being written, and it'll continue to be written until the day I close my eyes.
Yeah. I do find that I will look at other people that, like you said, whether it's listening to like Damon John wrote a really awesome book called Power Shift. And I almost always have the book right here. And I'm not looking right at it. I probably moved it. But I'll often consume books. I struggle to get through written books as fast as I do with the audiobooks. But I'll pick up nuggets along the way. So to Gerald's point, I can't replicate what Damon John did with Fubu, but I'll listen to gems that he's, employed, and I'll extract, even one nugget, right? And find a way to apply that. I'm a associative thinker, so it could be you in security and I'm in, marketing and branding, but I'll apply something that I've learned from this conversation to my own playbook and goals. As we wrap this call up, my last question for you guys is this: what's one action that you want our viewers and our listeners coming away from this conversation? What's one action you want them to put into action that's going to help them to blaze their trail? Josh, I don't know if you're still. Let's see if your signal is good.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, man, you're good. You're good.
Let's see. One action I would say that I want people to take away is continue to help other people begin a business or start a business. Continue to keep the brand going, and just be positive and influential on others' lives. Try to touch others' lives. That's what we try to do on a daily basis, or what at least I try to do. Even if it's just getting a homeless guy a sandwich, just do one good deed a day. And I don't brag about the things that I do. I just do it and I move on. Because then at the end of the day, you'll be truly blessed. That's my only.
Gerald?
I think for me, it's almost along the same lines. I was actually writing it down here in my notebook. It's about giving back. Ultimately, none of us get to where we are without somebody reaching back to us. When we gave the scholarships at St. Aug, that was a way of giving back. It's a lot of things that we do, again, not publicized, that are means of giving back. And so as long as you're giving back and trying to influence and help somebody else, pull somebody else up to where you are, you'll continue to elevate as well. I think it's when you become very selfish and very greedy that it's when you begin to kind of take a rapid decline, because now you've forgotten. It's almost like you've forgotten where you come from. So I think ultimately, I want your listeners to take away from this conversation to just give back to others. Give, whatever it may be, no matter how minuscule it may be, give back to somebody else, because ultimately, you're gonna reap a reward for doing that.
Listen, I appreciate you both for rocking with me today. How can our viewers and listeners stay connected to you? I've been putting your website and social across these banners, but for those who are listening, how can they stay connected to you guys?
Absolutely. You can stay connected to us online at securedbythebest.com. Also on social media, we're Titan Protective Services LLC. You can follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. We've got a LinkedIn as well. Definitely stay connected, because we're getting ready to do some great things. So we definitely want everybody to stay connected to us and see what's coming up next for Titan.
You're already doing great things. Gerald Reed, Joshua Scott, thank you both so very much for being my guests on today's episode. It's been great.
Thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir, we do. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody hanging with us over the course of this hour. Go have go rise above, go way beyond, and keep blazing your trail.
Yes, sir, will do.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If we aren't yet connected, let's keep the conversation going on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, we grow when you subscribe, share, and invite others to check us out. We believe that others who consume these stories will be moved to make significant changes that have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Blaze Nation, go out today and